Let's get some reaction now to former President Jacob Zuma, who reported to Estcourt prison this morning, and in less than half an hour, he was released on special remission. That's according to the Correctional Services Commissioner, Makgothi Thobakgale. It comes after the Constitutional Court dismissed an application to challenge his Supreme Court of Appeal ruling, which found that his release on medical parole was unlawful, while Zuma served only 2 months of his 15-month sentence for defying a court order to testify at the state capture inquiry. Let's get some reaction now, and the DA Member of Parliament, Advocate Glynnis Breytenbach, joining us now. Advocate Breytenbach, thank you very much for your time. Let's get your immediate reaction to this decision.
Good morning, thank you. Yeah, my immediate reaction to this, well, it's one can only call it a charade, is one of utter disgust and despair. It's a malicious and sly and devious manipulation of the criminal justice process to let one man free. It's nothing short of a disgrace. It's a slap in the face of every single South African, and I'm quite sure that nobody believes that it's a genuine process, and everyone can see it for what it is.
Well, the President and, of course, the officials that are behind this decision will argue that it's not just one man that's been let free, it's also thousands of others who have qualified under this special remission process.
Yeah, that is coincidental. This scheme was designed and devised solely with Jacob Zuma in mind. The fact that 9,500 plus other convicted criminals are going to be let loose on South Africa with no supervision, because there's no point in referring to community corrections. They're unable to function as it is, and 9,500 won't help them to function any better, are going to be let loose as a result of this scheme that was devised purely to allow Zuma to spend no more time in prison.
When you say there's going to be no supervision, there is a sound bite from one of the officials this morning, and they talk exactly to what you have just said. I wonder if we could just listen to that for a moment. All right. It seems we don't have it ready right now, but let's press ahead. Advocate Breytenbach, this particular decision, it comes at a time when the former president still faces a court challenge, and this is in relation to the arms deal trial. For people watching this, they will probably question, is there any point in pursuing that case? Because it does seem that there is no appetite to send the former president to jail.
Well, South Africans would be well advised to consider that and consider it very seriously. So it's very clear that this is the strategy of the ANC and their government, that nobody is going to be held to account. So you're quite correct in pointing out that Zuma faces a large corruption trial. In all probability will be convicted. We all know what the evidence is already because we've seen it in the Sheikh trial. And so, you know, one would be forgiven for the conjecture that should he be convicted, another well thought through remission process will be devised in order to allow him to once again escape serving any prison sentence. But more importantly than that, one should also bear in mind that the other high profile ANC members who are facing certain prosecution, if the NPA ever gets that far, in state capture matters, you know, one must assume that this is their strategy, and that remissions will be the order of the day. You know, they'll be, you know, like buying a packet of chips, you'll get a remission for almost everything. And so none of the ANC, this is clearly their strategy to ensure that no one in the ANC is ever held accountable for any criminal offences. What they've done today is a shameless trampling of the rule of law. It's a demonstration that the ANC has no regard, A, for democracy, for our constitution, or for the rule of law, and that for them, some people are definitely more equal than others. It's an absolute disgrace.
Advocate Breytenbach, at the risk of allowing that kind of assumption, the ANC will be quick to remind you and me that ANC members, there are those that are still serving time in prison, and the one person that I think we all remember is John Block, unless, of course, you are going to tell me that he perhaps may have qualified under this special remission dispensation. He's still in prison as far as I know it.
Yeah, there are some ANC members who are still in prison. I'm not sure if they're going to qualify for this remission. We'll certainly be watching this process very, very carefully. But of course, every now and then somebody is the fall guy, and one of their members is sent to prison for a period. And of course, once they emerge from prison, they're accommodated elsewhere. That's been the pattern in the past. So every now and then, just as a show, a pretense, somebody is the fall guy and does go to prison, but certainly the vast majority manage to escape it. So after today, after this, I struggle to describe it in polite terms, but after this little show that they put together this morning, I would struggle to believe anything any of them say. Mm.
President Ramaphosa has said that under his administration, the rule of law, in particular dealing harshly with those who find themselves in acts of corruption, this is something that he will pursue vigorously, and the ticket under which he came to office was that of a clean-up guy. Is he living up to expectations, you think?
President Ramaphosa has failed to live up to even the most modest expectations in any area. His presidency is a failed one. He has not managed to keep any promises. You'll recall that a couple of years ago he promised us that load shedding was a thing of the past, and yet this year has been the worst year of load shedding, worse than the last 10 years put together. He promised us that he would be a corruption buster. Well, let's see how that's turned out for him. Nothing to brag about, no one to write home about. So, no, I lump President Ramaphosa's statements with those of the rest of his government, and I have a lot of difficulty believing anything any of them say.
After today's decision, would there be appetite on the part of the DA to try to go to court to challenge this? Because I would want to think that the courts themselves have exhausted this particular process regarding this specific case.
We're looking at it right now. We're studying the legislation. We've asked for the records of decision. We'll certainly give it very serious thought to take the matter on review, provided there are sufficient grounds. We're giving it very serious consideration. It's a very dangerous precedent, very dangerous.
All right. Advocate Glynnis Breytenbach is a member of the Democratic Alliance in Parliament, National Parliament. Thank you very much for your time and weighing in on this particular decision. It would be interesting to hear from other opposition parties.